In 2016, I started some wild lupin plants in small peat pots in 2 areas of a backyard in Toronto, Ontario. Some were planted in an existing vegetable garden area, and some were planted in an area intended for establishing the wild lupin. While starting plants in the lupin area was not successful until the following year, several plants in the garden area did survive and flowered in 2017. Of the 2 most successful plants, one had 12 inflorescences and the other had 11. The others in the area, including the plant in this picture, only had a single inflorescence. The plant on the right in this picture is the same plant 2 years later, flowering on June 11th, 2019. This year, it had a total of 30 inflorescences. Here is another picture of the same plant taken a week later on June 18th, 2019 from a different angle. As you can see, the inflorescences now are much taller than they were in the previous photograph. Here is the same plant with its seed pods in a picture taken 8 days later on June the 26th, 2019. When the pods ripened, I harvested them, and I was able to estimate the total number of seeds at around 2,000 or more. Prolific. In the Albert Papers, Volume 1, Chapter 34, Let's Look at Nutrition from the Ground Up, the soil scientist William Albrecht states, biotic strata, other than man, are gifted in assaying their food intake according to different plant species and different degrees of rock development into soil on which plants grow. In the volumes of the Albrecht Papers, Albrecht provides examples. In one instance, a herd of cattle was crossing a prairie field and then going through an open gate into another field. The cattle refused to eat the white clover and bluegrass that were growing in the prairie field. Instead, they went through the gate into what had been a cornfield that had been abandoned because of a shortage of labor. This field, unlike the prairie field, had received a mineral treatment which included calcium and phosphorus. This unused field had been taken over by what we consider undesirable plants, namely weeds. Apparently, however, the cattle considered these weeds as fine forage that they kept to a short growth during the season while ignoring the white clover and bluegrass in the adjacent field, which they had to cross daily for access to water. The following 3-minute video shows bumblebees that came from outside the yard to the wild lupin plant, loading up on pollen and then leaving the yard. They ignored other flowering plants in the yard. This picture of the special wild lupin plant was taken on May 30th, 2022. The plant is now in its 7th season.